Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I interview DJ Kurtis Cross, who's a professional DJ in Washington, D.C. Enjoy. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about your business. I want to talk about what goes into the work that you do to actually
Sure.
do an event. I feel like a lot of times couples are after just the price part of it, and then they don't necessarily get to the value part. So I want to talk about and educate a little bit about what goes into it. And then I want to talk about like any specific advice you might have for couples that are getting married.
Sure.
Then I want to talk about the business side of this, what's working for you, what's not working for you, any specific advice you might have for other businesses. I want to talk about some wedding stories or business stories, good and bad, whatever you want to do there, and then whatever you want to talk about after that.
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
All right. So, Kurtis, tell me about your business. What city are you in? What you do?
Well, Weddings by Kurtis Cross, we produce weddings for couples who are looking to experience the celebration of a lifetime. We're in the Washington, D.C. area. And although we're in Washington, D.C., we serve D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware. We work all up and down the East Coast, having performed weddings as far away as California, San Antonio, Florida, up north in the Boston area, over to Chicago. You name it, we've done it. We love every minute of it. And that's sort of what we do through sound, lighting, DJ talent. That's what we do, and we love it.
I gotcha. So what's your website, Kurtis?
www.kurtiscross.com. Kurtis is spelled with a K, and of course on any platform at DJ Kurtis Cross.
All right, cool. So tell me about an event. Like, what goes into you having to make that possible? So we talk about not only do you got, how many years experience do you have?
I started in 1986, so we're going to make year number 34 this year.
Wow, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
So you've got over 30 years of experience. What goes into like the beginning part? Like you got, someone comes, meets with you, you work through that, and then you actually got to put the logistics together, get to the event and set all that up and then work through all that. Tell me about that.
Well, over the years it has changed, of course. These days, you said you meet with the couple and then, you get through logistics, you sign the deal and all of that. This has changed over the years. It used to be, a Yellow Pages ad or word of mouth, and then we meet with the couple, and there's a 2, 3, 4, 6-week period where they're considering their options and that sort of thing. And these days, things move a lot quicker. So we're finding that in this very meeting that I'm having with you, a video conference or a Skype or a FaceTime, we're meeting with clients a lot more. I would say that we probably had a dozen meetings a month 10, 15 years ago. I might have a dozen in-person meetings a year now. So that part has changed.
Nice.
Of course, now we're meeting clients, through our social media. We're meeting clients over FaceTime. And then once once a couple decides that we're the choice for them, they'd like to partner with us to put together and produce their wedding celebration. It sort of steps away from my hands and it goes to the support staff that we have. Now, I will say this, the most important part of what we do is the staff that we have. My name is, let's say my name is on the marquee, Weddings by Kurtis Cross, but there's a great staff behind me and that works with me, alongside me, to make sure that the wedding celebrations happen as they should. There's, Paula's in the office and she's calling clients and supporting our clients. There's Chrissy who's working in the warehouse and she's making sure that the event order is correct so that all the equipment is together. We have a road crew that gets out to the event. They set the event up. We have a reception coordinator who's another, support person at the event. So as far as logistics, everyone has a small piece of the pie, and together, as you've heard, I'm sure, we are greater than our parts, when we put ourselves together. So that's sort of how that goes down. And as far as, it's paperwork, it's, the courtship, it's learning about each couple, it's finding out what is going to make them experience the greatest day of their life. It's more than that. It's about finding, about their family members, their friends, their guests who are invited, because they have chosen to invite these folks to their wedding so they can celebrate their love and their best thing with them. And it takes a lot more than a guy with, a couple of laptops and some music and speakers,
Yeah.
to produce a wedding. So my staff plays a part in that, and I'd be remiss if I did not include them in this conversation by, mentioning
Oh,
them there.
agreed, totally. How many hours do you think goes into all of that? One event?
40 to 50 hours.
Wow, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of man hours, right? That goes into just a single event.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then so you guys, I mean, then obviously there's the event, right? How many hours you guys usually spend at an event?
Well, let's say these days I'm seeing a lot of wedding celebrations are 5 hours, be it a ceremony, cocktails, and reception, or just cocktails and reception. We're doing a 1 hour cocktail hour. We're doing a 4 hour reception that includes, either a buffet or a plated meal.
Mhm.
We're doing traditions and customs and that sort of thing. So that 5 hour block is performance time. But and if you go to my blog, you see this. I have a breakdown of everything that happens in the weeks, days, and even on what I call game day, where if the wedding is from 6 to 11 in the evening, from the moment I wake up and have a good breakfast, I have to get into game day mode.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, this happens for about 99% of the celebrations we produce. I'm going to tell you now, there are butterflies in my stomach every single wedding day. And it's because we care about producing perfection each and every time.
Yeah.
Now, they don't usually start first thing in the morning, but my wife can tell you a few weeks ago I had one, and I said, Paula, it wasn't here. I tried to fight it, but the butterflies are coming strong right now. And that's 2,000 weddings later. The butterflies are still there because we have one chance to get this right. We have one chance to, announce the couple, the right way, pronounce every name correctly. We have one chance to have the perfect equipment, the perfect set list to make that dance floor move. I digress. So a 5 hour wedding, my road crew will get there 2 hours in advance. I will arrive 30 to 45 minutes in advance, which means if they're arriving 2 hours in advance, they have to leave the office an hour prior to that. They have to get to the office 30 minutes prior to that to load the trucks. So right now we're at 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours, 5, that's 8.5. And then we get through the event, and at the end of the event, usually an hour to an hour and a half. Breakdown and then transporting everything back to the warehouse.
Get back to the warehouse, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're looking at a 10-hour day.
Yeah, easily. That's what I hear all the time, right? Like it's usually easily a 10-hour day just to
Yeah, for
get
sure.
through. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of hours. So you say 40 hours roughly going into one event. I mean, what's the starting package?
The starting package as far as pricing,
Yeah.
our starting package is $17.95.
Mhm.
That includes 4 hours of music, includes one of our DJs. There's myself, there's DJ Chrissy, there's DJ Carlos, there's Marquise, and there's Sean. It includes one of our DJs. The full sound system for up to 200 guests. It includes wireless LED uplighting and all of our planning. So when we look at the 40-hour time slot versus the 10 hours on that day, how do we get to 40 hours? Well, again, there's a process through which we have to help the client along the way. Paula calls our couples every 2 to 3 weeks and spends time with them by email and on the telephone, supporting them, finding out what their vision is, going through music selections, name pronunciations, and all of that. Paula types a timeline for each wedding celebration based on what she has discussed and what our clients have submitted to us and what they have approved. There's a back and forth piece there where, let's say, our bride says, you know what, I need to do a little bit of a surprise for my fiance, so can we write this in? So we adjust the itinerary. And then we go through pretty much a full dress rehearsal of what's going to happen on that day. So if it's a 5-hour wedding, a dress rehearsal might take 5 hours. We assemble a set list. We assemble support pieces to make sure that everything's in place. We go through all of the equipment. There's an inventory that has to take place. And then 2 of everything goes on each truck to make sure that we have backup at each wedding celebration.
Yeah, for sure, right? Because always something's going to happen, right? Always.
Always something's good. You know what? Every time that we have backup, which is all the time, nothing ever really happens. But the one time I leave the extra mic in the truck, I need the extra mic, So that's the way that happens.
Right? That's just the way it is, man. That's just the way it is. That's awesome. That's thank you for explaining. That's great.
Sure.
So today, you said times have changed, which they have, right? So couples are,
of course.
Do you feel like that you're you think people are sourcing more online, or do you think it's more like referral based?
We are seeing an increase in both of those, which means something has to give if those two, sources are jumping up percentage points for us. So what used to be, a Yellow Pages ad and a business card in the 80s and 90s is now social media and online resources, be it Google, be it Wedding Wire, be it The Knot, be it Wedding Pro. Those resources are really jumping up for us. A couple of years ago, I had my first couple that booked who said, when I asked them, of course, how'd you hear about us? The bride said, I typed in my venue on Instagram and your face popped up because I had tagged the venue, of course, when I was doing a wedding there. So I would say for us, Wedding Wire is a huge resource for us.
Nice.
I would say social media is a huge resource for us. Word of mouth is always going to be a huge resource for us. Someone's sitting at a wedding, they're having the time of their life. I want that DJ. We might get that. I would say Google ads and Facebook ads work very well for us in terms of, how we can capture an audience and how we can expose an audience to, what we do.
Right. Cool. So if you had some specific advice for couples today that we're planning right now, what would you recommend?
Advice for my couples, or anyone who's watching who's just going to get married. First and foremost, understand that on July 1st, 2020, whatever your wedding date is, you are marrying the love of your life for the rest of your life. Okay? Handle personally the things that you need to handle when it comes to planning your wedding celebration. And don't be afraid to source out, some duties to others. There are plenty of folks who want to help. Pick and choose your battles. Certainly you want the backdrop of your dreams. Certainly you want the dress of your dreams. But some things may be negotiable. If you want to have, parting gifts and party favors for your guests, is it worth it to stress yourself out to find the perfect, party gift or, for your guests when I'll tell you, I don't want to disappoint anyone, but at least 50% of the time that I do a wedding celebration, half of the party favors were left because the guests forgot them. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't want couples to stress themselves out. It is one day. It is the day of your life. And remember, if you've got the right fiance, if you've got the right partner, then your battle is won.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's shift focus a little bit to the business side of this, and
sure.
Let's talk about. So for business, what would you say is working well for you? And I'm talking about like logistics of making the whole thing happen. What's working well for you right now?
What is working well for us now is what has worked well for us for 34 years. Having the right staff and valuing that staff. You've got to have that. I can buy all the laptops in the world. I can subscribe to all the professional DJ record pools in the world. I can buy cool lights. I can buy cool sound. We have a great staff that we value. And that is the most important thing, to empower your staff to not work for you, but to work with you and alongside you and support what you're doing so that we're all on the same page. There's nothing more valuable than my staff.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you named off about 7 different DJs.
We have 5 DJs, and then we have a support team. Altogether, we have, and I'm looking over here, my wife is sitting next to me over there. We have 12 to 15 people on staff. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And how many weddings you guys do in a year right now? Or events?
I mean,
I know there's weddings, right?
Well, we do. Okay, so I don't know if you know this part or if anybody knows this part. I have 2 sides to my company. I have Weddings by Kurtis Cross, and then I have Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association, where we provide dynamic DJ entertainment for non-wedding events. So total 400 or 500 events a year is what we do.
That's awesome.
And that's a separate set of DJs on that side.
Yeah, of course. Oh, really? Separate set of DJs, not the wedding ones?
Right. So our wedding DJs do 90% weddings only.
Oh, okay,
if we have a wedding that we've done years ago and that couple's having an anniversary party, we'll do it. But we do very few non-weddings on that side. If we do 100 weddings in a year on the wedding side, if we do 100 events, 95 of them are weddings.
I got you. And
yeah, there's a New Year's Eve event I do every year. There's a couple of things here and there for personal favors, but weddings, yeah.
Yeah, and then you do a whole other side of the business for different types of events?
Yes, bar and bat mitzvahs, corporate events, sound, lighting, karaoke, giant games, movie nights. That's a completely separate website, completely separate. My assistant, Chrissy. Yeah, Chrissy runs that side of it.
That's awesome. That's cool. Um,
Yeah.
so what would you say for business logistic wise? What's not working well right now?
What's not working well for us right now? We don't have as many partnerships with venues as we used to. I believe I'm seeing that because I'm seeing turnover in the staff at these venues a lot more often than I used to. But as far as what's not working well, I'll be honest. I mean, at the risk of sounding like we're spoiled, things are working very well. We've had steady growth over the last several years. The last year where our numbers were not on the increase was 2013 or 14, maybe. We've had a steady increase,
Hmm.
and everything seems to work well. I think it's because, again, we value our staff, we value each couple, and we value each opportunity to do a great job and produce the celebration of a lifetime for each couple. So I think when you do good business, you do, great business with a handshake, a smile, and with honesty and ethics. I think that you'll find yourself on the road to success
Yeah, well,
quite often.
and if you do what you do because you love it and you care about it and you care about the people that you're doing for, yeah, I mean, you're going to succeed, right? Because it's just the nature of it.
That's a formula that works. Yes.
Yeah. You talked about like you feel like there's turnover in events. Do you feel like there are so many different types of events nowadays, and that might have some impact on like the relationship with different events? Because I feel like there's so many, like, I can't tell you in the past couple of years, I feel like there are so many new spaces coming up and trying to
Right.
convert to wedding space and things like that. Do you feel
You're
like that's
correct.
an impact there?
I think so, because I think we're in a time in history and in commerce, in an industry where we're in a fascinating time where things are changing. I think
Hmm.
social media has had something to do with that, but I'm seeing non-traditional spaces convert into wedding spaces. I'm seeing historic homes, I'm seeing row houses, I'm seeing wineries, I'm seeing former warehouses that are now turned into rustic looking places with exposed brick. So there are so many more wedding venues that we're seeing, or non-traditional wedding venues, that I think folks are perhaps trying their hand at doing it themselves, in terms of the corporate folks who were doing it at the Marriott or the Hilton. I
Right.
think they're moving on and taking on more responsibility and taking on new challenges for themselves personally and professionally, whereby I am seeing turnover. And I also think that these days there's not as much loyalty, so folks are, moving on.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? Well, and there's
Yeah,
challenges, right, in running your business. And I think you said a key point was, if you value your staff and the people that support you, you're all a team, right? Trying to make this thing
right.
happen. I think if you value that, um, and you help them and you work with them, I think that speaks a lot because they'll stay and they'll work with you more. I think when you see a lot of turnover in businesses, it's because people just don't value the people that work for them, and people just need to move on and do other things, right? They're too worried
Right.
about squeezing out the profit. They're too worried about squeezing out this and that, right? I mean, we're all human here. We need to value each other.
I think that's the important part. And in my research, I found that while monetary valuing of a staff does work, I think that there are other ways to value your staff beyond just, a pay raise. You
Yeah.
know, if you have an employee and you give them $1.50 raise every 6 months, but you don't value them, if they don't feel appreciated, if they don't see where their work is going, if you go to work every day and you dig a hole, and every day you come back and that hole's filled in, you got to dig it out again, instead of seeing the progress of where that digging is going, then I think you'll be happier, or you'll be less happy when you don't see the progress, when you don't feel appreciated, when you don't see the end result. And I think that these days we can value our staff a lot more by appreciating them in different ways, giving them paid time off, giving them a day off where they're not losing pay, give them an increase in pay, have an employee appreciation event. Just let folks know that you care about them, a handshake, a thank you, a smile. Hey man, you did a great job today. Come in a couple hours late tomorrow. Those kinds of things
Yeah.
people do appreciate.
Work-life balance, right? Because people have families, people have other things going on in their life, not just work, and
Right.
we need to be able to support them and help them, live life, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's not just a 9 to 5 kind of thing and, do your job and go home. You got to care about the folks who are, making this whole thing happen. If it's just me, I cannot do it. I cannot make the sale. I cannot support the clients. I cannot man the warehouse. I cannot, load the truck, go to the event and do all of this. Not these days. I used to do that when I was, 22 years old and I was doing nightclubs in, Miami and in New York. I
Mhm.
load the car up and I'm driving up 95 North on the Turnpike to get to, this club or that club. But,
Yeah.
these days we take a little bit more time with our couples and we support them differently than I did when I was 22.
Yeah. How long have you been out of the single game, like just a single business person, right? Running this. How long have you had staff and work done that?
So I started the company in '86 with a guy named David, and him and I were together. There's never been a time where, well, I guess as a single DJ, but I had a couple of people around me, not DJs, but it's been 25 years since, you know, we've had a great staff for, 20, 25 years now.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
so these are the things that look, I I need to focus on this because this is what I'm good at. I need someone to help me with these other things I'm not so great at, or it's something that look, my time is more valuable here. Do you find that that's how you're looking at it from a staff perspective? Like I could do all this stuff, but it would be more valuable for me to focus on these things and then hire someone to help me with these other things. Is that?
That's 100% correct. So, uh, 15, 20 years ago, I was doing an anniversary dance in a wedding. And the couple that won the anniversary dance, for those who don't know, it's you get all the married couples on the dance floor, you start eliminating them year by year, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, until you get to the couple that's been married the longest. The gentleman that was married the longest, I cannot recall his name. I do remember the cake was a hockey themed cake, but the gentleman and his wife who won the anniversary dance had the most years married, I don't know, 50 years or more. I talked to him about a few things, and he ran a driving school in Ohio. And he told me his success he found himself to be more efficient running that business because he did not personally take care of anything that he could pay someone else to do because his mind needed to be on sales and marketing and the things that only he could do. So I've taken that model, and the sales and marketing part of this is something that I handle almost exclusively because while I can go to the warehouse and while I can, inventory everything,
Mhm.
that's a great way for my younger guys to get on the clock, to learn every piece of equipment, to learn how to take care of and repair equipment. And I can pay these guys and empower them to take a part of the business and be responsible for that. So when I'm doing, Janet and Pike's wedding a few years ago, it wasn't me doing the wedding with Christine as my assistant. It was Evan and it was Salat, and it was those guys who took care of things at the warehouse and went there and set the equipment up. They're part of that too. So
Yeah.
every every piece plays a part. Paula puts together the timeline and itinerary, so blindly I can go in and look at that timeline, and she's got every single announcement, every single name spelled phonetically, all the songs that they must hear, songs for the father, daughter, mother, son. Every person plays a part in this. Chrissy, she makes sure that all the music is on the laptop, on the external hard drive, and on the flash drive. So when I
Yeah.
get there, I plug and play. So yes, everyone has a piece of this puzzle, and we put it together on July 1st, 2020, which is the date
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
using here. I don't even know. That might not even be is that a weekend? I don't even know if that's a weekend, but when we get there on July 1st, 2020, 75% of the work is done.
Yeah. Okay.
And Paula had this part of it, and Evan had this part of it, and Chrissy had this part of it, and I had this part of it, and Sean had this part of it. And that's the way that works. July 1st is a Wednesday. So if someone's getting married on July 1st, they're doing a Wednesday wedding.
There you go. Yeah. So was it difficult to take that jump though, from like being the single person running the whole thing to hiring one person? And then I'm sure like after you got the one person in, you realize the benefit of that. And then it's like, it just scales from there, right? But was it difficult to
Yeah.
make that jump?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the difficulties I did not have to go through is, let's keep in mind, I started this business when I was 13. So when I started hiring people and saying, hey, you want to come work for me? I had no clue what I was doing. However, at that time, and I'm 14, I'm 16, I'm 17, learning about the business, I was not relying on it for full-time income. So fortunately, I was able to make some mistakes along the way and learn from them.
Yeah.
But getting people to help and to get paid to help, when you're a club DJ and you're 21 years old, your buddies just want to go for free. They don't care.
Yeah,
They want to
right.
help you. Yeah, I started with records. They want to help carry records because they want to get in and see all the girls at the club.
Yeah, for
That's
sure,
all they
right?
care about. So it wasn't hard, and I got trial and error. But when we started getting a payroll, it became a bit more difficult because you go from having friends that are helping you out and hanging out at the gigs to now you have to budget because you've got a staff that you have to pay.
Right.
You've got a bunch of part-timers is where it started. Then you get some full-timers, and now your budget changes. But
Yeah.
then so does your advertising budget, so your gross receipts, and it kind of grows.
Yeah, got it. If you were to give some advice to businesses, to a new bit, you and I are going to retire, right, one of these days. So
Yes, we are.
if you had to give someone coming up in the field specific advice, what would be the one thing you would tell them?
Sorry to sound like a broken record. Value your staff. Get yourself a good staff. Get all the education you can in the business. The internet, let me tell you, it took me years to get where someone can get in a week now because you have all the resources on the internet. I would say there's a few keys to being a huge success. Value your staff. Value each couple. The biggest mistake I see people make in business these days is they try to sell to each couple. They try to sell and sell and sell before they even open their mind to know what the couple or the client wants. Listen first. Don't try to sell to these couples. Don't sell to any couple. Try to help them get to where they want to go on their wedding day. Whether it be you own a dress shop, if you're a baker, if you're a photographer, if you're a florist, or if you're a DJ. Don't look to sell and treat couples like clients or a number. Okay, I've got 8 weddings this month. I've got 2 weddings this month. That means I'm gonna make X amount of dollars. I need to book another one because I gotta make this money. No, your interest should be in helping each couple realize the most important day of their life and celebrate the most important day of their life. All the success will come, the riches will come, the money will come, and all of that. But that's the advice I would give. And I would say, don't, take your time. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, patience, right?
Patience is what it takes. When I was younger, of course, I wanted to move and I wanted to do a ton of gigs. And then I realized that I'd like to have gigs that are valuable and gigs where I can really do a great job and we'll build our reputation like that. For that reason, yesterday for 10 years in a row now, we've gotten Wedding Wire's Couple Choice Award. Why? Because, we try to do good business and we value each opportunity to help a couple realize the most important day of their life.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what's the worst wedding story or business story you got for me?
Worst wedding story. I don't have too many, but I will tell you, there was a wedding I did in Northern Virginia where dad refused a couple of wishes of the daughter to dance with her and that kind of thing because I think he didn't agree with her choice in a groom, and the bride was crying on her day. I just don't know why we would, I don't know why we would make anyone, feel that way on what's supposed to be the best day of their life. Also, I came this close to having to do a double wedding in one instance because the DJ was so late, they asked me to stay. I was doing a wedding, let's say from 1 to 5, and the other DJ for the second wedding that had nothing to do with us didn't show up. So I stayed, and I think he almost, he showed up in the nick of time or something maybe, but is there anything? I cannot recall. We've had some great success and some wonderful couples. People always say, I bet you've seen some fights at weddings. I have not. In 34 years, I've never seen a fight at a wedding. I've seen a couple of young folks who are dating, have some unpleasant conversations outside,
Sure. Yeah.
but I haven't seen an actual fight at a wedding. One of my DJs did report back to me here in Maryland. They text me when they arrive to each event. They text me after they set up and they send me pictures. When you get a wedding and it's outdoors, you got the backdrop and the ceremony's around a pool and someone's not paying attention. Mom did fall in the pool actually this past summer.
Wow.
One of my DJs reported that a mother fell into the pool with her dress on and everything.
Oh, yeah, fun time.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
I did not see that myself.
Yeah. All right. So what's the opposite side? What's the best wedding story you got, or business story? Either one.
I'm fortunate enough to recognize and realize the best wedding story just about every weekend. The best wedding story for me is once we're at game day, and once the couple has said I do, they've gotten through their first dance, they've gotten through dinner, they've walked around to all the tables, and they get on that dance floor, I need each couple to have a moment where they realize this is why I hired this team, because they're having the greatest day of their life. And if I cannot produce that consistently at every wedding, then I'm in the wrong business. And I search for, and I will work my tail off to reach that moment with each couple at each wedding. They got to realize that they made the right hire. They've got to realize that they've partnered with the right team, because they're celebrating with 168 of their friends and family. And I want each couple to lose themselves in that moment, not wear a watch, not care what time it is, and look around that room and see the love that supports them on their wedding day.
That's an awesome feeling, right? When you see that and recognize that, like you're looking
Yeah.
out and things are happening, you go, man, this is it.
This is it. This is where I belong. You know, I've never had a full-time job other than this. This is absolutely where I belong. I've been able to share my love of music and my love of hosting events with thousands of couples across the United States on the best day of their life. I can't ask for anything more other than the success of my children. That would probably overtake that.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. So, hey, Kurtis, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it. That's all
Yes,
the
sir.
questions I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I thank you for whatever you're going to do to edit and post and share and all of that. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love the wedding industry. I've been in it for 30 plus years. There's nothing I'd rather do than to educate folks in the wedding industry and to actually perform these events. So thank you for providing this platform where folks can hear more of my story, and where I'm imagining you're going to educate some folks as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kurtis. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is pretty much going to be our conversation. I'm not going to really edit anything out of this except for the beginning and the end, and that's it. I'll send you some links and everything when it's all posted up. And appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, fella.
All right, buddy. See you.
All right.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.